Hello. So we're on to episode 3 of the Daleks, or the Dead Planet, and it's called The Escape, which just gives you some sort of indication of what is going to happen. I think we can see at this point, if indeed, as I suspect, Terry Nation came up with the episode titles, how he likes to tell you exactly what's about to happen in his episode titles. Ultimately, this was disappointing, which is a real shame to say, because I don't think I've had an episode so far that I could truly say was disappointing. And there are two fundamental reasons as to why this is. First of all our TARDIS regulars, it's Caroline Ford who holds the fort today, with the majority of things to do, and she's a rewrite or a kick up the arse away from being a good character, in all honesty. Perhaps we look for something different in our Doctor Who girls these days, but this sort of moping, slightly scaredness, there's moments where you can just see there's a flash of spunk, there's a flash of energy, but ultimately she just comes across a bit drippy, and without wishing to sound cruel, more stupid than you anticipate the Doctor's granddaughter to be. Now, obviously, at this point in the series' history, we don't really know what being the Doctor's granddaughter means, and let's be perfectly honest, we still don't know what being the Doctor's granddaughter means, but whatever. So she gets to run around a bit more. As a brief aside, it's quite telling, I anticipate, it's quite telling how there's a cliffhanger, there's a better cliffhanger from last week crying out to be had, and that's Susan running into, what's his name, Aldenis or Aldis or whatever. We'll get onto him and his ilk in a moment. Oh, what's this fella? And it turns out it's this fella. But instead we got her walking out the TARDIS doors. I presume this happens because if they'd have brought that cliffhanger in last week, they'd have to pay somebody to play that part, or come up with a better method of direction, or would have been better. Anyway, life goes on. The other reason why this episode is ultimately disappointing is that it features the Thals, an early contender for Doctor Who's most boring group of people. The amount of seemingly portentous dialogue they come out with. One of them, the first one, wasn't ever his name, Aldis, I can't remember, whatever. The first one isn't too bad, and then the rest come in, you just think, my God almighty, what are these people on about? And the leader guy who comes at this dialogue about the inevitable, not doing something about the inevitable, and the Daleks holding the key to their future and looking forward to find out what it is. And yes, we know the Daleks now, and we know that this is just a ridiculous. Oh, but man alive, how irritating are they? So ultimately, a bit of a letdown, which is a shame. A couple of things of interest though. The Daleks' dialogue is very funny at the minute. Only in so much as we've got 50 years to come of the Daleks, and yet at the moment they come up with some bizarre bits of dialogue that you don't anticipate Daleks in later years saying. Anyway, that's fine. They're still finding their feet. They've themselves got to develop as characters, as well as the TARDIS regulars, who for the most part are in a cell for the whole of the episode, and coming together as a team, which I like. Barbara's bit about the mud, do you mind, is nice, and the Doctor seems quite avuncular towards that point, which is great as well. The one saving grace of the episode, and with hindsight it is really the one saving grace of the episode, is the bit of horror at the end when they've disabled the Dalek, and the Doctor and Ian open it up, and purely through the looks on, well, particularly Ian's face, purely through the look on his face, you know that whatever's inside that metal thing is not pleasant. And I had a bit of a shudder on him. I know Daleks now, but that moment just by the skill of William Russell. Really, it was a good bit, and it was properly grim in the manner of the very best horror. I'm not a big horror fan, so I'm not speaking from a position of authority, but in my albeit limited experience, the very best things are the things you don't see, and we don't see, apart from this wiggly hand towards it. But that's not the moment. The moment is when they open it up and he says, "Barbara, Susan, I think you should nip outside for a bit." And that was great. Another shit cliffhanger. Language. Sorry, another not very good cliffhanger. So much so I can't remember what it was. Fundamentally, this story, as I recall, is going to go on for a bit. We've got Thals and Daleks. Let's hope the Thals get shaken up a bit. I seem to remember they do. And let's hope that we get some good kick-offs in a bit, and things go a bit bonkers. And thankfully, we're out of the cell now, so that should get better. But for the what are we? Episode 7 of Doctor Who. It's a bit of a letdown. Life goes on. C'est la vie. All right. Till next time. Farewell.